So there's some things that should never change, and we believe respect is one of those. So we'd like to give a special welcome and a shout out to our Director Emeritus, Founding Director, Mr. Peter Board. Thank you for joining us today. Peter, good to see you. Always great to have you with us. Well, it was very interesting. The 1950s for wind bands was definitely an example of kaleidoscopes and how it was changing so much. Up until that point, bands were thought of as, fun musical organizations that would play in the summertime or in schools or, summertime type concerts. But they weren't necessarily, wind bands weren't necessarily taken seriously as musical organizations. And a group of men, Frederick Fennell, Donald Hunberger, several other men, were looking to change that. And they were looking to make wind bands as musical, as interesting as orchestras were. So they set out to write music that was not just melody with accompaniment or air vary or folk songs with accompaniment. They set out to write music that was very, very different. And in early 1950s, they turned to Peter Mennin, who wrote this piece, Canzona. Now this is very, very different. Canzona is actually a Renaissance musical term, and it's a Renaissance musical style. It's not one melody with an accompaniment. It's a lot of different voices together. You hear different voices coming in with the theme, almost like a fugue. But this piece was groundbreaking, and it was meant to show a wind band could do anything that anybody else could do. It just sounded much better when we did it. Interestingly enough, this was the only piece that Peter Mennin ever wrote, but it still remains one of the most famous pieces in wind band literature for the groundbreaking nature that it has. So this is Peter Mennin's Canzona. Buckle your seatbelts.